Close Encounters of the Third Kind. For such a popular science fiction classic, I'm buggered because I'm having trouble finding something to say about it. The film is basically about a series of UFO sightings that eventually lead this man into insane curiosity about the aliens, which influences him to find out the answers that he seeks. Richard Dreyfuss plays this man, and he does a really good job, but I don't think there's anything particularly that special about the performance. The special effects were quite impressive for the time, and I will still say that they are eye-openers today. What's probably best about it is the feeling of adventure that the film encompasses, but what could we really expect from Spielberg? I mean, that's pretty much his territory. Sorry I don't have more to say, I'm writing this review a bit late, but I hope that outlines my opinion. I give Close Encounters of the Third Kind an 8 out of 10. Hard Candy. It's hard for me to comment on the film. On one hand, I admire it, because it's quite a well-made movie and should be looked at positively in that regard, but the experience of watching it is difficult to decipher. I like seeing films challenge the viewer and give us something intriguing to think about, and this movie did that, but what would be most obvious is how incredibly disturbing of a film it is. It left me feeling quite negative for a few hours after watching it. The film is focused on a teenage girl who basically holds a suspected pedophile captive in his own house and tortures him in numerous ways. There are two major things that make me feel uncomfortable. One is the lack of empathy with any character. Sure, you don't sympathize with the pedophile, but seeing this young girl do all these messed up things is really shocking. The other is the infamous castration scene. It's so difficult to watch without showing some form of disgust. To comment on it, Ellen Page delivered an incredibly strong performance for a young age. Overall, it's a well-made movie, but I would only recommend it to those with a strong heart. I certainly wouldn't want to watch it again. I'd give Hard Candy a 7 out of 10. Lilja Forever. I haven't got too much to say here. It's a film about aspirations and poverty. Lilja is a teenage girl living in a poverty-stricken area of a former Soviet republic. She's abandoned by her mother and is forced to start living on her own, and during this time begins looking for ways to repair her destroyed life. The most compelling side of the story is Lilja's friendship with a young boy named Volodya. It's an interesting relationship as both characters are neglected by their relatives in some way and find solace in ways to let off stress together. At times the film can be very depressing. Given that it's a film about life in a poor area and the suffering of young people, by default, you'd expect things to get a bit rough, and I'll leave it at that and avoid going into detail. I also love the use of Rammstein's song Mein Herz brennt. I'd give this movie a 7.5 out of 10. Harry and the Hendersons. This isn't an outstanding movie by any means, but it is a solid family experience. I've always been interested in the legend of the Sasquatch, and I've always wanted to see a film about it. It may not have been brought to life in the most serious manner, but nonetheless, I was happy to see Bigfoot on the big screen. Bigfoot, nicknamed Harry in this movie, is played in a very loving, comedic manner which gives rise to several funny scenes, usually involving the destruction of the Henderson family's property. The makeup used to bring Harry to life was pretty good. The actors of the movie are all on the forgettable side, but I did enjoy John Lithgow's performance as George Henderson. He's just the ideal, easygoing, yet somewhat idealistic father figure. It's not too special, but if you're looking for some light-hearted fun, I don't see how you could go wrong with this movie. I give Harry and the Hendersons a 7 out of 10. The Man from Hong Kong, also known as Dragonflies. As a fan of the James Bond film On Her Majesty's Secret Service, I'd been wanting to see more of George Lazenby's work. I heard that this was one of his more well-known films, and I am interested in martial arts cinema, so I decided to give it a go. The martial arts scenes are reasonably well done, but drag on for far too long and just lead the movie towards boredom. Jimmy Wang Yu delivered a fair performance as the main character, but I thought everybody else, including George Lazenby, was stale and forgettable. The movie also, in my opinion, doesn't prioritize its plot enough, and it feels like an excuse to just toss more action in there. I know lots of people will disagree, but I did not like this movie. I just thought it was boring and it didn't have much to offer. I'd give The Man from Hong Kong a 5.5 out of 10. Terminator Salvation. As a huge fan of the first two films by James Cameron, I was quite curious about this one, but I put it off feeling that it probably wouldn't be that good, especially considering Terminator 3 was just a basic, above average action movie and no masterpiece. I can confidently say that this was a nice change for the series and a lot better than the previous installment. For starters, I loved how the movie brought to life the post-apocalyptic future ruled by Skynet. Throughout the previous installments, we only got small glimpses and had to rely solely off of imagination. With these great effects, I think they gave us a good chance to finally see it. The cast is overall very good. Christian Bale plays John Connor and does a terrific job, and Sam Worthington plays a likable character named Marcus, and he also delivered a fair performance. There's a few nice throwbacks to the older films, notably the appearance of a Terminator resembling Arnold, and Kyle Reese's quote, "Come with me if you want to live." It's far from the greatness of the original two movies, but it's pretty good as a science fiction movie, regardless of how unnecessary it might be, and it gives fans some new insight. I'd give Terminator Salvation an 8 out of 10. GoldenEye, the first James Bond film to star Pierce Brosnan as 007. Let me say that this is by far one of the best James Bond films ever. It was the first in the series to be made after the Cold War's end, and it provided a perfect backdrop for the plot. Bond is sent into Russia to uncover the access codes of a satellite weapon that's bound to cause severe destruction. One thing that really stuck out to me was the maturity of the film. All the other Bond films felt like works of fiction, whilst this one, the way it was brought to life, felt a lot more real to me, despite how far-fetched the plot is. I like the villains in this movie. They're sinister and engaging. And I also thought that the leading lady of this movie was terrific, and one of the best Bond girls throughout the series. However, the man who steals the show, of course, is Pierce Brosnan. He is incredible as James Bond, and certainly one of the best since Sean Connery. I hear that Pierce Brosnan's Bond films decline in quality after this one, so that's a bit of a shame, but nonetheless, this movie rocked and is one of the best James Bond movies ever made. I'd give GoldenEye an 8 out of 10. Escape from New York. As a fan of John Carpenter, I was dying to see this movie. It looked like such a classic, and it really did pay off in that regard. For starters, the cast is phenomenal. You got Kurt Russell in the main role, and he is terrific. A total badass in the purest form. He was born to play that character. The supporting cast includes Donald Pleasance as the President of the United States, as well as Lee Van Cleef and Charles Cyphers. It's a really great collection of cult-like figures in cinema. To top it off, John Carpenter's direction is excellent. The film takes place in a future where New York City has been turned into an enormous maximum security prison. The President's plane crashes there, and Snake, played by Russell, is sent in to save him. It's a very interesting idea for a story, and exemplifies the standard badass hero that goes in to save the day kind of movies. The action in this movie is great. It's limited, so when it does come by, it really thrills you. The atmosphere of New York City is great. I finished the movie feeling more curious about how this prison works. The movie is lit very dimly, which is a bit of a shame, but it doesn't hurt the experience too much. This is a great action and science fiction film, and a must-see for fans of Kurt Russell, or any of the other members of the cast. I'd give Escape from New York an 8.5 out of 10. Ghost World. I saw this because a friend of mine mentioned that one of the major characters resembled him, and I looked into it. It looked like a great teen film. It's a teen film in the sense that it's about teenagers and focuses a bit on life following graduating from high school, but the more significant theme of the film is related to being an outsider. The film is about two girls named Enid and Rebecca who graduate from high school and plan to move in together. They spend their time bothering other people due to their own problems of relating to others, and in the process meet the middle-aged Seymour, who himself is a bit of an outsider, who takes pride in his vinyl record collection. This interaction will of course change the lives of both Seymour and Enid. I graduated from high school a year ago, and I could really connect with Enid and Rebecca in their struggle to make sense of their own lives. But also seeing Seymour's own confusion at his age, I guess reinforces the point that life isn't meant to make sense all the time. And outside of this, the film can be really funny. Steve Buscemi really steals the show as Seymour. He's an incredible character who I really wanted to see get something out of life, but I'm not outruling the solid performances by Thora Birch and Scarlett Johansson. If you seem unsure about the direction of your life, I'd give this one a watch. It's a really great experience if you can connect with it. I'd give Ghost World an 8.5 out of 10. The Killing Fields. Due to my interest in Cold War era history, I wanted to see a film based around the reign of Pol Pot and the Khmer Rouge, and this film captured that period of history perfectly. The film is basically about two photographers, one an American named Sidney Schanberg, and one a Cambodian named Dith Pran. As the Americans are pulling out of the region, the Khmer Rouge, of course, takes over, but Dith Pran is left over and becomes a victim to the horrors of the new regime. The film spread awareness of the genocide that occurred in Cambodia at the time, and I must say it must have been really shocking for cinemagoers to experience this through film. The drama of the movie is incredible. I really felt connected to these two photographers, and seeing Dith Pran suffer at the hands of the Khmer Rouge just made me despise them even more. The cinematography of the film can be very beautiful at times and really captures the feel of Cambodia. This is most evident in the scenes of the actual killing fields. Really disturbing, but brought to life well. Sam Waterston delivered an excellent performance as Sydney, and Hang S. Ngor, I really do hope I'm pronouncing that right, was incredible as Dith Pran. What shocked me was that he wasn't actually an actor, but a real refugee from Cambodia. Ultimately, it's an excellent drama that really shows how diabolical Pol Pot and his followers really were. I'd give The Killing Fields a 9 out of 10. Anyways guys, that's my video. I hope you enjoyed it, and goodbye.